Hey, I'm Nate Kelmes, a mixer, producer, and the host of the Sound Discussion Podcast. And today I want to show you a brand new plugin called GilderVox. It's made by Joe Gilder, and it's pretty awesome. So let's take a look at it and see what it can do. There's a couple things I want to talk about before we jump into the demonstration. This plugin is a all-in-one plugin, and I'm not typically one that uses those types of plugins. There are some that tend to sound really good and others that are a little bit black box. And so I'm not quite sure what they're doing. They might sound good, but I like to know what's happening behind the scenes when I'm using a plugin that's all in one or handles a bunch of different operations and moves with a single click or a single knob turn. So GilderVox is one of those sort of all-in-one plugins. It's really kind of a channel strip, if you think about it, a condensed channel strip. And it really will come in handy as a foundational type of tool. I think that saying it's the only tool you'll need for vocals might be a bit of a stretch. That might be the case in some tracks that you're mixing. But in most cases, I think that it's a really great starting place to get the vocal in a position where you can then make some other creative moves. The whole point of GilderVox is to take away the many multiple decisions you might have to make regarding a compressor or an EQ or delay or saturation. And it puts all of those tools at your disposal in one place. And I really like that. If you are someone who really likes to get into the nuts and bolts and tweak things endlessly, this plugin might not be for you. But I think with everything, you should give it a try and see if it works for you and for your workflow. So let's go take a look at it. First thing, right off the bat, what I love is that there is no metering to get in the way. Yes, we have a gain reduction meter for both the compressor and the de-esser. That's okay. Maybe there's a version down the road where they'll add in a option to turn these off and hide them. That would be wonderful, Joe, if you're listening. But there is no other metering. There's no input or output meter. There's no spectrum analyzer that's happening. All those things sort of take away from what you're trying to do, make musical decisions instead of making analytical decisions. So I really applaud the developers and Joe for saying no meters. The other thing I really love is that there is no colors to get in the way. It is monochromatic, just white and gray. Wonderful, easy to see, easy to use. That's really great. The other thing that I really like is it is resizable. I love that. Not a lot of plugins, well, more plugins nowadays are becoming resizable, but there's still some out there that are not, and that just annoys the crap out of me. So really great to be able to resize this plugin and make it nice and big or small, whatever you need. So, all right, let's take a look at each of these knobs really quick. Don't want to get too lost in the weeds here. So we have our dynamics section, we have a compressor and a de-esser. Pretty self-explanatory. These operate on one knob. In fact, everything operates on one knob, which is really great. There is something beautiful about simplicity and not having to make 10 different decisions when only one is all you need to make, right? What was that line from The Office with Kevin? Why say 10 words when one will do? He says it much better than I do. But that's kind of the same idea here is why make 10 moves with a compressor where you have tons of options when you can just make one and it does what it's supposed to do and it sounds good. Now, there's things happening behind the scenes with the compression, as with all of these. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But this is really great and allows you to make a quick decision and move on and not get caught up in the minutia of, oh, what's my attack? What's my release? What's my threshold, my ratio, my knee, all that. No, none of that stuff. Just simple, turn it up. Does it compress? Yes or no? Great. Move on. Same with de-essing. It's obviously just a compressor at a fixed frequency point. All of that is taken care of for you behind the scenes. So just turn up the de-esser until it does what you need it to do. Simple as that. Mud remover is I found that it's sort of a tilt EQ. with the fixed point, the pivot point being at about 4.5 to 5K. So it's, as you turn up the mud remover, it's lowering those frequencies below 5K, and it's raising frequencies above 5K on a linear axis. So pretty simple to use, self-explanatory. It removes that low-end muffliness, mud, that woofiness, especially for people who record a lot of music at home. You get that same frequency as you stack vocals because you're using the same microphone, you're using the same mic preamp, you're probably standing in the same place in your room, and whatever issues might be happening, you might not notice it on one vocal, but as you stack up, 4 or 5, you might notice that there's these frequency buildups that thicken, and they take away from the overall sound. And all of a sudden, your once nice sounding single vocal with 5 of them sounds really thick and muddy and muffled. And so this is something that will really help with that, to tame all of those really low frequency buildups. Now, there's other moves that you can make and probably should make to rectify that. If you can fix it before you record it, that is optimal. But this thing can be a real lifesaver. The smoother knob, it is a spectral taming and an EQ dip at about 2.5K. Again, that's where a lot of frequencies tend to build up, especially when you're stacking vocals. So that is a really great frequency to keep in mind. You don't have to worry about it. You just turn up the smoother knob and it does the thing for you. So Air is a shelf, a high shelf at about 10K, and it's not all that different from other EQs. We're not going to name names. Obviously, there's other EQs that do a lot more than just the air control. This one does it as well. And so at about 10K, it raises up that shelf and provides that air that you're looking for. Then we have our character section. We have drive. So a saturation, we turn it up and we introduce harmonics, and slapback echo. Joe goes into some detail on his video about why he decided to not do reverb, and I agree with him 100%. I think that reverb and other delays are really specific to the person's taste and the track that you're working on. Slapback, however, you can add just a little bit in. You can add a lot in for a very dramatic effect, but even just a little bit, I find myself using most times no more than about 0.5, 0.6 of slap. And it just brings them back so that they're not right in your face. And it gives the vocals a little bit of space and blends them together with the band a little bit better. All right, so let's take a listen to what this plugin is doing. So we have a track here from Adam Reifsnyder, a local musician, singer-songwriter here in Cleveland, Ohio. He just released a new record, and this track is the very first track off of this record. It's called Sunday Morning. It was mixed by Jim Stewart, who's also a friend of mine, and I got the multi-tracks because I'm working on a remix project, and they were so kind to provide this to me, and the timing was just right. Joe asked me to take a look at this plugin for him and let me know what I thought. And so I decided to make this video and do just that. So if you are interested in learning more about Adam Reifsnyder and his music and the record that he just released, I'll have links down in the description below where you can go and check that out. Okay, let's turn this on and take a listen.
Well, I find myself where I've been many times before, and I do not feel wanting for anything more. With the sunlight pouring in from...
Okay, so I'm not sure if you could hear that, but simply turning the plugin on, it does something to the audio. There's a roll-off that's happening. I'll show you with a spectrum analyzer, but it's happening at about 100K, so just a high-pass filter that's being engaged with the plugin on, and everything at 0, input-output at unity. So you get that sort of character shaping, that tone shaping off the bat, which is really great because I think that's a really great decision by Joe and the developers of this plugin to just automatically include that roll-off. Because on vocals, that's pretty much the move we're always going to make, is we're going to engage that high-pass filter. Yeah, so why not just have it baked in? Makes sense to me. All right, let's try out some moves here and see what we can do.
Well, I find myself where I've been many times before, and I do not feel wanting for anything more. With the sunlight pouring in from the window by the bed, I've got everything I need. I've got my best friend singing to me like I ain't moving.
Okay, so there we go. Real quick, just made a couple of quick decisions and we're off to the races. Let's do a little bit of comparison before and after.
Well, I find myself where I've been many times before, and I do not feel wanting for anything more. With the sunlight pouring in from the window by the bed, I've got everything I need. I've got my best friend singing to me like.
All right, wonderful. Okay, let's try out the next vocal, vocal 2, an octave lower. So let's open this one up.
I ain't moving, baby, 'cause I got someone who moves me. I love the feeling, and I love the feeling, baby, 'cause I found someone who feels good to me. Ooh, I ain't moving, baby, 'cause I got someone who moves me. I love the feeling, and I love the feeling, baby, 'cause I found someone who feels good to me. Ooh.
Okay, and again, within a verse, we have a really nice sounding vocal, just a couple of quick decisions. Again, I love the fact that there's no meters that I'm looking at that's distracting me, thinking, oh, I've turned up too much 10K, I should turn that down. No, you just turn it up until it sounds good. Or it sounds bad and then you back it off. That's what I really enjoy, not having anything to distract me when I'm looking at the plugin and what I'm doing. Okay, let's listen to both plugins engaged on these tracks. We'll dial in some slapback here to give the vocals a little bit of space.
I ain't moving, baby, 'cause I got someone who moves me. I love the feeling, and I love the feeling, baby, 'cause I found someone who feels good to me. Ooh. Well, you pour the coffee, I'll bring the breakfast in bed. Being lazy on Sunday, don't think too far ahead. With the sunlight pouring in from the window across the room, I'm exactly where I wanna be. I'm right beside you, singing to you like I ain't moving, baby.
All right, there we go. Really simple, really great, quick way to dial in a vocal chain. And you don't have to make 10 different decisions about a compressor or an EQ, a de-esser, multiple instances of an EQ. You know how you have 3 or 4 of those stacked up? Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So that's really great. So let's take a quick look at what this thing is doing behind the scenes. On this track over here, I've loaded up a tone generator, the GilderVox plugin, and a spectrum analyzer, spectrum meter. So pink noise, which gives us a nice flat response. And as you can see, when I engage the plugin, there's that high pass filter that I was telling you about at about 100K, roughly, somewhere in there. All right, so if we turn up the mud remover, notice that tilt EQ engaging. There's the pivot point right there. You see that? right about here. What's that, 4.5K? So there's that tilt EQ that's happening. The smoother knob, there is that notch EQ at 2.5K that's engaging. And air. There's that shelf that happens at about 10K. So there you go. This is the GilderVox plugin. Pretty simple to use, easy to dial in, and get a really great result fast. What I love most about this plugin is that it gets you where you want to go quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of time going through any presets or deciding whether the chain that you've put together in your template is going to work for this song and what you're going to pull in instead. If you're looking for something to simplify that initial process of getting a vocal into place and getting it sounding good, then I think that GilderVox might be just the ticket for you. I'm sure there's other plugins out there that do a similar thing, but I haven't yet seen one that has the clean UI with no meters and really forces you to use your ears instead of your eyes. And it comes back to that time and time again. Using your ears instead of your eyes is really the point in all of this. And to me, that makes this plugin pretty indispensable because I can make quick decisions. They're musical. For me, this is going to stay on my template. Will I use it for every mix? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But for now, it's going to stay on my template. So I'd like to thank Joe for allowing me to preview this plugin. He did have me take a look at it a week early. So little disclaimer there. And also, it's on sale this week. As of this taping, it's out today. And it is $29 for 1 week. So go try it out and snag it before the price goes up. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below and let's start a dialogue. I'd love to know what you think about the plugin. Is it something that you find useful? Is it a pass from you? Let's hear it. What do you think? As always, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And stick around because I have a lot of really great content that's going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks and months, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.